friends, I'm Liese and I'm back with another video. Today I want to share with you a mid-month wrap-up. I've started reading a lot again, and so I prefer not having to talk about too many books at a time, for one thing, and the other thing is that I seem to have a harder time sometimes remembering what I want to say about the books if I wait until the end of the month. So in this way I have a more of a fresh memory about the books that I was finishing. Hopefully it will seem like that. I started the month off really well. I've already read 7 books, and 4 of those books were actually read with my own eyes, which is very unusual, and it's not because they are short books or anything. Actually I have 5 books that I finished. One of them was one I'd worked for so long that I only had some pages left, but I read 3 ebooks and a physical book apart from that, and then I listened to 2 audios. Let's get into the books that I was reading. The first book that I finished was Always Only You by Liese. This is apparently a second book in a series. I haven't read the first one, but I think that you can easily read them out of order. It didn't matter to me. I was able to follow along really well, but there were some references to some other characters, and I feel like they must be the ones that was in the first book. So I guess if you read the first book, you get that Easter egg thing happening, and I'm definitely going to go and read the first one. I ended up really enjoying this one. It was a lot of fun. It is a hockey romance, and we're also following this woman who has chronic pain, and she's also on the autism spectrum. So she obviously has some struggles in day-to-day lives, and has a hard time understanding sarcasm, and she's very blunt about things, which is fair. And then we have our male lead, who is a hockey player, and they have been sort of friends for a long time, but then starts getting feelings for each other, or they've been having feelings for each other for a long time, and then over the book obviously a romance is happening. I've ended up enjoying it quite a lot, and I really enjoyed our hero, how he understood her. But I like seeing the representation from, obviously I can't speak for myself because I am neither autism or chronic pain stuff, but I do know some who has suffers from chronic pains, but I think that it seemed very well written in terms of that, and our hero, I just really enjoyed him. He was very sweet, and sometimes maybe a little too sweet in places, but I don't know if that's a thing. But I ended up enjoying it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so I definitely want to read more of her books. The next thing I finished was another reread for me, and it was the Casanova by T.L Swan, the 3rd book in the Miles Ever After series. No, the Miles High series. This is the one that follows Elliot and Catherine. It's my favorite, I think, of the whole series. It's a really difficult choice for me because I really enjoyed The Takeover as well, but I think this is my favorite because I really enjoy both of the main characters, and I like the sort of conflicts they have. It's a haters to lovers kind of thing, and really fun ride in that way. So it was a lot of fun being back reading from the series again. I really just enjoyed it. I just seem to get very immersed in her books. It's not the best written literary stuff or anything, and it's definitely not for everyone because it's very heavy on the sex scenes, but I like that they have a good balance of that, and there's also a lot of drama happening in them, and I'm here for that. I think that's what makes them so fun. They're very long. I think this was over 500 pages as well, just as The Takeover was. Oh, The Takeover wasn't 500, The Stopover was. So definitely enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars on a reread again. Next up, I finally finished Night, Sword of Darkness by Kinley MacGregor. This took us too long. I think we started it back in June last year. I think it said it was in August, but it was in June because I was reading it when I went to see the Tour de France in July, or before that. So that was in July, so I definitely know I started it before. I ended up giving this 2 stars. I can't give it more. There were definitely, it was more interesting towards the end. It was so quick when you got back to it in the end here, but I just didn't enjoy our main characters. I didn't understand the romance, and I felt like the ending was very weird. Yeah, it left a lot to be desired. I hope there will be more exploring into the Arthurian legends. That part of it was very interesting in this one, and we'll see how it plays into the Dark Hunter universe a little bit more, because we didn't really see a lot of that in here, except that we saw they, for some reason, was able to travel into the future, like or present time, in some of the scenes, and we figured it might be how they would connect with that, but we didn't see anything, so I don't know. The next thing that I finished after that was Home to Wickham Falls by Rochelle Ahlers. This is the last and final book that I read for my Harley Quinn special edition vlog. You can find a video of it up here. I very much enjoyed this one as well. I mean, it's not my favorite or anything because I gave it 3.5 stars, but I thought it was fine. I liked our two main characters. Our main male lead comes home from living in New York. He started his own business, a software engineering company, and he comes home because his father has a heart attack, and so obviously he wants to take some leave from his work and stay with him to try and also reconnect with his family again, because he's sort of been hiding away because of a conflict with his dad. And then we have our female who is a teacher in this town, and and she's a very good friend of his sister. So they meet and have an instant attraction towards each other, and starts to get to know each other. My main complaint about this one is probably that it seemed a little like there was sort of a third act, not breakup, but a third act, like conflict, or if you want to call it that felt like it was a little bit unnecessary and wasn't really a thing anyway when it came to it. And then there were some other things that just lacked a little bit, but I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, so it was still fine. And yeah, the next thing I finished was Royally Matched by Emma Chase. This is the second book in the, I don't know what the series is called, just Royals, Young, I don't know. I forgot the series name, but I definitely enjoyed it. It started out really weird. It's sort of a Bachelor thing, like the TV show, where he goes in, our main character goes in and has like to get to know all these women to figure out who he's gonna marry, or maybe potentially marry, whatever. He is recently become the next heir in line to the throne, because his brother, who was the main character in the first book, sort of ascended his part. He didn't decline the throne, and so he's sort of stuck with that now, and to take it up as his duty to figure out how to try and find a wife suitable to like keep the line moving and whatever. And yeah, our main characters, our main female character, she is a sister to one of the contestants. She comes along, not to being part of the show, but she's just coming along to sort of to help out her sister. And obviously she has some things that she's been struggling with, and I think the sister took her along because she didn't want to leave her alone, kind of thing, because she has some issues. Yeah, so he ends up falling in love with her, obviously, who's not on the show, and it goes from there. I actually enjoyed, I thought the beginning part was a little bit weird, especially the parts where he was part of this TV show. I didn't expect that to happen, but I enjoyed the later part. I think the last half of the book, I really enjoyed it. So I think I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, because I think the last half was so good, but the first part was sort of a 3-star for me. So I think it was really a good balance to put it on the 4 stars here. The next thing that I finished was Elantris by Sanderson. I was in such a fantasy mood, and I had the Easter days off from work. So from the 1st until like Easter was over, I was home, and I didn't have super many obligations and things I had to do. So I had a lot of reading time for once, and end up reading like through the majority of this. And the Casanova, obviously I also read that. That was also 500 pages, and this one is 555 pages as well, so another chunky one. this is Brandon Sanderson's debut novel, and it definitely shows in his writing style and way of building his stories, because it was definitely different. I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. We follow 3 perspectives. We follow the perspective of Serene. We follow the perspective of Serene. Serene is coming to K, that's the capital in this world. It's very close to Elantris. Elantris is a forbidden place where that used to be the capital, and it's sort of been closed off because people became sick and like they're zombie-like now. And so they're basically seen as dead, and so they built this capital closer to it, but as not being part of it. And she comes to K because she's marrying the crown prince, and she's engaged to be married. But when she gets there, on her way there, the crown prince dies, and so she's now actually in legal terms married to this man, because they didn't get to the wedding, but he's passed away, so she's actually now a princess in this town. And then we have the perspective of a sort of one who comes in to try and preach his religion to the city. What is it called? Haven? Hold on. Rathen. Yeah, he's trying to preach the Dorethi religion to the people here. And yeah, those chapters are rather short. And we have Rowden, who is the crown prince who passed away, but he becomes an Elantrian, and his sort of things that happens inside the Elantris, and it's very, very interesting in that way. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as fast-paced and it wasn't as structured as his later books is, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and I was definitely expecting, I think I was expecting it to be worse because of what I've been hearing, so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars because I definitely enjoyed it and it was a lot of fun. The last and final thing that I finished in the first half of the month was Mr. Masters by T.L Swan. This is the first book in the Mr. series. This is, yeah, I decided when I read the Miles books that the next books I would tackle was the Mr. series, because they are all referenced a lot in the Miles books. They are friends with the Miles brothers, all 3 of them. So Mr. Masters follows Julian Masters. He is like a judge in London, and comes from a lot of money. His family has this big called the big company called the Masters Group or whatever, but he is not exactly part of the thing, but he obviously has a lot of money and inheriting a lot of money and stuff like that. He is widowed and has 2 kids. And then we have our female lead, who comes from Australia. She comes to his and is become his nanny. And when she takes up the position as the nanny, she just doesn't realize that it's a man. She actually thinks that it's a woman. So she doesn't realize it until she's like standing in front of him, and he introduces himself to Julian as Julian Masters, and things goes from there. He's obviously a lot older than her. Like there's I think she's 26 and he's 38, so a 12-year age gap. So you have to be aware of that. There's an age gap difference here, and if that's not something you like, then have to probably skip it. And there's also a lot of difficult things happening. Like he is definitely broken, and there's a lot of things going on, and there's a reason to why he's acting as he does, and it's not the usual thing. And I really enjoy that. I can't say more than that. It's not the usual thing that reasons that he is as he is after having lost a wife. There's a different reason to it. And I thought that was an interesting way of using that trope, if you will. And I liked how they sort of formed their relationship thing. Obviously that was an instant attraction from his side at least, but like, and she sort of developed, I mean, she became infatuated more and more as the time goes. But there's not like, it was more of a fun way of they got to know each other, and yeah, I like that. Yeah, I ended up giving it I think I gave it 4.5 stars by the end because I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite thing I've read by T.L Swan, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading on in the series. Which will probably be in May, because I said that I need to focus on like the actual TBR books now, which I've definitely not been doing very much. Anyway, these were all of the books that I read the first half of the month. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books and what you thought of them, if you're agreeing with any of my thoughts. What have you been reading this month? Also let me know about that. And yeah, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye.